Hi, it's Evangeline from truck.Com, and today we are looking at our Yakima Overhaul HD ladder rack for Toyota and Nissan utility tracks here on our 2021 Toyota Tacoma. This is a great ladder rack, especially if you want one that can be adjusted. So the Overhaul HD has these adjustable towers that go up and down. So the lowest point is at about 15 inches and the highest point is at 30 inches. So if you want something that is fixed, Yakima also has other options like the Yakima Outpost HD or the Lower Bedrock HD. This here, the Yakima Overhaul HD, I think is great, especially if you want to be carrying ladders or things that will go up and above your truck. The way this is designed is that it's actually very easy to remove and adjust if you do not want to be using your ladder rack and you want to use your full truck bed. So the way to do that is that these towers release from these bases, so you can use just the bases and keep these on and have full access to your truck bed. And when you want to use your ladder rack back, you can just pop them back in and very quick, very easy, you're ready to go. The weight capacity for this ladder rack is 500 pounds on road, but if you're going off-roading, which I know many are, the weight capacity for that is 300 pounds off-road. And we have here 68-inch bars, so we have plenty of bar space here. We already have one ladder loaded, and you can see how there's a lot of space for a lot of other accessories and equipment. So these are the Yakima HD bars. So if you have other Yakima accessories, that will be great because they work really well with these, especially if they have T-tracks, because you can mount your T-track accessories in here if you remove the rubber strip. At the end of the bars, there are also these integrated tie-down points, which help reduce or eliminate the need for extra load stops. Here you can see how we tied down our ladder using the e-trailer ratcheting straps. I highly recommend them since they just hook over here as well as to the tower itself, and you just ratchet it down to get it nice and secure. With this being adjustable, it's up to you how high or how short you want it to be. But let's talk about some overhang here on our Toyota Tacoma. So we're using these 68-inch long bars, and you can see how they fit really well with our vehicle. Now these do not adjust back and forth. So right where they're sitting, they do slant slightly that way. So we have an overhang of 11 inches from the base of our tower to the end of our bar. But we still have 68 inches of top bar space. With this being a short bed truck, we had to install these to the furthest out points that we could. So this needs to be installed with a minimum of 36 inches apart. So that's basically your bar space. So with it here maxed out as far out as we can go from the center of one bar to the center of the other bar, it's at 40 inches. So that will be the max that you can get with this system on this truck, or you can get it a little bit shorter. This kit is designed for utility tracks like what we have here on our Toyota Tacoma. So I really like this feature because it's drill-free install. You just use tools which are included in your kit to tighten things down. These clamp straight into the tracks. The HD bars aren't the only tie-down point. They also have tie-down points integrated to the tower themselves, and you can really feel how strong and sturdy this is. Overall, as a ladder rack, it feels very sturdy. I would be very secure about tying things down, mounting things to it. This has an aluminum construction, which is strong, but also lightweight. I could lift the parts into place and install them really easily. And let's take a look at that exact install process. The first step to install when you have tracks like these is to insert these plates inside these tracks. Now these plates are a little bit long, and since we have this angle here, we can't just insert them straight into there. We need to remove the track a little bit so that we can have that perfect angle. So to do so, I start by removing these nuts inside the track, holding them into place. So to remove these bolts, I use a T30 star-shaped bit, and that's what I found is the best fit for our Toyota Tacoma here. And then we just loosen it. For this end, we need to start by removing the end cap just to get access to that. Then we can start loosening this bolt. Okay, so we have it here where it's loose enough just to pop out. Once you have this out, you can then go on to the next bolts. What I like to do is take out the first and the second one, and then slightly loosen the third one, which is what we're going to do right now. With these bolts released, you can see how this track pops out just far enough to insert our metal plates. So we'll get those in there. 1 and 2 plates. With those in, we can then bolt the track back to the truck. Now we'll just put these bolts back in and tighten all of them down, especially the third one that you just loosened. And with these tightened down, we'll leave the end caps off because we'll need this open for our next step. The next step for install is to install the bases. Now I already installed the other 3, so we'll install this 4th one together. Personally, I think the trickiest part is figuring out where to position the bases since they all have to be evenly distributed. So what I do here with this short bed on our Tacoma is bring the rail as far out to the ends as I can. So this track here will bring all the way to the end where it reaches that bolt. Then I'll close the end cap on it just to keep that position. So as far out as it can before hitting the end cap. From here, we position the base, then we get our bolts ready to place inside the base. So you first start with your large bolt, and then this square nut that goes in there, and then bolt. From here, we then place our piece for our bed track kit. So if you do not have a track, you'll be using clamps, but since this is for utility tracks, we'll be using this. This attaches to our plate in the back. So first we need to insert this right where that bolt we just put in is. Then we get this nut and place that underneath and tighten it down just a little bit just to grab onto that nut. Right there. So you have that in place, and do the same on the other side. With both of these loosely attached to our base, we can then line it up with our track behind and attach it to the track at the back. So to do so, you need to prep these pieces. So I start off with a bolt, then a split washer. Let's put that on top. Then a flat washer. Then this silver grooved plate that goes on top as well. And you use all these pieces and you insert them into our kit. Which hole you insert this bolt into depends on what truck you have. Here on our 2021 Toyota Tacoma, we're going to be using this 3rd bottom hole here. Let's put that there at the bottom. And then try to screw it into the track in the back. So if you have difficulty with that, it might help getting an extra set of hands just to use a screwdriver to lift that plate forward. But I think I got it here, so just loosely install it and then move to the next side and install that one. One thing you need to make sure is so that you have the right bases on each side. You will have this long space on the outside and a short space on the inside. Now these are there so that you can adjust your base back and forth, but it really helps if you have the correct ones. That way you can measure right where that bolt is and make sure it's lined up with the one on the other side. So here I'll move this over there so that I can line it up with the hole in the plate behind. And with this attached, they are both secure. Once you have these in place, you can then tighten them down. And what I like to do is just tighten this side a little bit, then tighten the other side, just so that they're both evenly tightened down and they're not skewing one way to the other. And with those tightened down, you can then tighten down the large bolts on top once you are sure that both sides are aligned. Once you have this base tightened down, you can see how the clamps are not moving and this base is sturdy. You can then get to the next step, which is to install the towers. So to do so, you first need to release this hinge here. So use your small included hex tool and loosen that up. That will cause this door to go out like that. Once that is loose, you can then place your tower, which we have right here. So make sure that they're facing the right way and that you have the right tower, meaning the tall part should be facing towards the outside of your truck bed. So just get that in place here. And from here, we then tighten this back together. So you may need to hold this in place while you tighten it down. But there we go. So with this installed, make sure everything is tightened down. You can then install your other 3 towers. Once you get your tower installed, remember to tighten down this spot over here. Like over here, it's a spring-loaded door, and on the other side, it's the locking base. So both need 2 different tools to tighten them down. And after that, you can then adjust your tower height. So here on our Tacoma, at its base height, it's a little bit too short for what we need, so we're gonna lift it up a little bit. To adjust the height of the tower, you first need to loosen these bolts here on the front and the back of the tower. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts that need to be loosened before you can lift this up. When all 4 are loosened, you'll hear a little thump, which means this has been released. And now you can adjust it. So it comes with some measurements on the inside. These measurements are on all the towers and will help you figure out the best height and have them even across all the towers. We can go as high as 30. But for our ladder rack here, we don't need that much height, and we'll have it at 24. I think it's a good place to stop. You can then tighten down all 4 bolts again and repeat that process for the other 3 towers. So now you have to prep the bars, and to do so means you have to insert these 2 plates inside your HD crossbars. So first, you have to remove the end caps of your crossbar. So you can use the small tool that's included with your kit and just loosen this bolt on the end. When that's loose, it just pops right out like that. And you can pop this end off right that. So with that release, you can then insert the plates. You only have to do one side because you can put them all in here, and one goes to that end. So with those in place, you can put this back. So just pop that back in. Remember that the closed part is on the bottom, and then this screw goes back in to keep that in place. Just like that, tighten that down, and then you can put these on your towers. Just lift that up and set that into place. Now if they don't sit flush on your towers, you may need to check if these are adjusted properly. This looks really good, and we'll put both of them up there. Look underneath the bars, there's some measurements there, and that will help you get it aligned on both sides. So here I have it at 35 1/4 on each side, and that's how I know that my bars are even. So when they're in place, you can now mount your bars. To actually install the bars, you need to use these bolts, and these will attach to the plates you inserted before. So let's prep the bolts. We have this 1 bolt, and then you use a split washer on it, then a flat washer, and then that goes into the tower here at the top. So you have to make sure that the plates are aligned. What I like to do is to use these small hex key and just get that in place, and here I can align the holes of the plates with the holes of the tower. So with that aligned, you can then attach your bolts just like that. So if your tower and your crossbars are perfectly flush with each other, you should have no problem at all getting that in place. And if they aren't flush, you will have to readjust to make sure that they are lined up. You will use your larger included tool to tighten these bolts down. And once they're tightened, do the same for all the other towers. Once you've tightened down all of your bolts underneath these bars and double check that they are truly in place, then you are done with the install. My final thoughts about this ladder rack is I really like the feature of how you can raise or lower it to whatever you need it to do. And that's nice, especially compared to other fixed ladder racks, which you have it at just one point. Some people like that feature, but I do like the height this offers. This was also relatively easy to install. The only thing hard about it was a little bit tedious figuring out the best fit on a truck, moving bases back and forth, tightening bolts down. But other than that, in terms of actual difficulty, it was really easy to use. Another thing about is that you can remove the towers very quickly and just leave the bases, and that's a nice feature. And that was a look here at our Yakima Overhaul HD ladder rack for Toyota and Nissan utility tracks here on our 2021 Toyota Tacoma.